The notification came through Instagram at 2:47 a.m. on a Tuesday, when the world should have been asleep and I should have been dreaming of something other than the disaster my life had become. At Velvet Storm Official has posted a new update. My thumb hovered over the notification for a long moment, my heart already sinking before I even opened it. 3 months. It had been 3 months since I'd posted anything on the band's official account, 3 months since I'd even had access to it. But old habits die hard, and I was still following them like some kind of digital masochist. The post was a video, professionally shot, glossy. Everything we'd never been able to afford when I was still in the picture. The opening shot showed my former bandmates. Marcus on bass, his signature black beanie pulled low over his eyes. Riley behind the drums, twirling his sticks with that cocky grin that used to make me laugh. And there, front and center where I used to stand, was him. Cameron Walsh, 22 years old, jawline that could cut glass, and a voice that sounded like it had been crafted in some Nashville laboratory specifically designed to make teenage girls weak in the knees. He held my old guitar, the vintage Fender Stratocaster I'd had to leave behind when they kicked me out, like he'd been born to play it. "Hey, everyone." Cameron's voice drifted through my phone speakers, smooth as honey and twice as sweet. "We're Velvet Storm, and we're so excited to announce our upcoming tour. 25 cities, our biggest venues yet, and we can't wait to share our new sound with all of you." Our new sound. As if the 3 albums we'd released together, the songs I'd written, the melodies I'd crafted in my tiny apartment at 3 a.m. while surviving on ramen and dreams, as if none of that had ever existed. I should have turned off the phone. Should have gone back to sleep, or tried to anyway. Instead, I scrolled down to the comments, and that's where the knife really twisted. What happened to Sage? She was the heart of this band. This isn't Velvet Storm without Sage Mitchell. This is just another generic boy band. Where's the girl who wrote Neon Nights? Cameron's cute, but he's not Sage. Bring back Sage. Refund my tickets. This isn't what I paid for. Sage Mitchell is Velvet Storm. Fight me. The comments kept coming, hundreds of them, and I found myself caught between crying and laughing hysterically. For 4 years, I'd poured my soul into Velvet Storm. I'd written 60% of our songs, including our 2 biggest hits. I'd been the one doing interviews at 6 a.m. after playing shows until 2, the one answering fan mail, the one who stayed up until dawn perfecting harmonies while the boys went out partying. And when our record label started making noise about wanting a cleaner image and a more commercial sound, guess who became the expendable one? Not Marcus, whose bass lines were solid but uninspired. Not Riley, whose drumming was technically proficient but lacked soul. No, it was me. The girl who'd named the band, who'd written the songs that put us on the map, who'd fought tooth and nail to get us where we were. The official reason they'd given me was creative differences. The real reason, which came out after too many drinks at our breakup meeting, was that our manager thought a male lead would be more marketable to mainstream audiences. I'd left that meeting with my dignity intact and my heart in pieces. I'd signed the papers that released me from the band, took my personal equipment, and walked away from everything I'd built. That was 3 months ago. 3 months of sleeping until noon, of avoiding music entirely, of pretending I didn't care when my former life continued without me. 3 months of watching from the sidelines as they replaced 4 years of my life with a pretty face and a voice that belonged on a Disney Channel original movie. But seeing those comments, seeing hundreds of fans demanding to know where I was, demanding refunds because Cameron wasn't me, it lit something inside my chest that I'd thought had died completely. I opened my laptop for the first time in weeks. The email to my former manager, Patricia, was short and to the point. "Patricia, I want to book a solo show, just one to start. Somewhere small, intimate. I know the non-compete clause expires in 6 months, but I need to do this. Let me know what's possible. Sage." I hit send before I could second-guess myself, then immediately regretted it. Patricia had been the one to orchestrate my departure from Velvet Storm. She'd probably delete the email without reading it, or worse, forward it to the label with a laugh. But my phone rang an hour later. "Sage Mitchell." Patricia's voice was as sharp as ever, but there was something else there, surprise maybe. "I was wondering when you'd call." I didn't call, I emailed. "Same difference. Look, kid, I'll be straight with you. The label isn't thrilled about you performing again. They've invested a lot in the new Velvet Storm lineup, and they don't want any confusion in the marketplace. I'm not planning to perform Velvet Storm songs, I lied smoothly. This would be all new material, solo stuff. There was a pause. You've been writing? The truth was, I hadn't written a single note since leaving the band, but I could, and I would. Yes. Small venue, you said? The smallest you can find. I just want to get back out there. Another pause, longer this time. When Patricia spoke again, her voice had shifted into business mode. There's a place called the Mercury Room. Holds about 300 people. Tuesday nights are usually dead. They'd probably let you have it for cheap. But Sage. Yeah? Don't make me regret this. I had 2 weeks to prepare for a show I wasn't ready for, with songs that didn't exist yet, for an audience that probably wouldn't show up. It should have been terrifying. Instead, it felt like the first deep breath I'd taken in months. The first thing I did was buy a new guitar. Not because I needed one. I had my old acoustic and a backup electric, but because I needed something that was entirely mine. No history with the band, no memories of late-night writing sessions or recording studio arguments. Just me and 6 strings and infinite possibility. I found her in a little music shop downtown. A midnight blue Gibson Les Paul with mother-of-pearl inlays that caught the light like stars. The moment I plugged her in and played the first chord, I knew she was mine. I named her Luna. The songs came slowly at first, like water from a rusty faucet. 4 years of writing within the constraints of a band, considering Riley's drumming style, accommodating Marcus's limited range, crafting hooks that would work for our collective sound, had made me forget how to write just for me. But then I remembered that first song I'd ever written, sitting on my childhood bedroom floor with a cheap guitar from a pawn shop, pouring my 15-year-old heartbreak into melody and verse. I remembered why I'd started making music in the first place. Not for record labels or commercial appeal or marketability, but because I had things to say, and music was the only language that felt big enough to contain them. The first song I finished was called Ghost in My Own Story. It was about watching someone else live your life, about being erased from your own narrative. The chorus was simple but effective. They wrote me out like I was never there, replaced my voice with someone they think you'll like better. But I'm still here, still singing in the dark. A ghost in my own story, but I'm not dead yet. The second song came easier. 3 months, a raw, acoustic ballad about the aftermath of betrayal. Then Luna's Lullaby, an instrumental piece that showcased my guitar work in ways Velvet Storm never had. Each song felt like reclaiming a piece of myself. I practiced obsessively. 8 hours a day until my fingertips bled and my voice was hoarse. I rearranged my living room to create a makeshift stage, performing for an audience of houseplants and takeout containers. I recorded myself on my phone, listening back with a critical ear, making adjustments, finding my voice again. The hardest part was admitting how scared I was. Velvet Storm had been my security blanket for 4 years. Even when we were playing to empty rooms at dive bars, I'd had Marcus and Riley beside me. Now it was just me and Luna and the terrifying freedom of having no one to blame if I failed. But freedom was exactly what I needed. I didn't promote the show, didn't post about it on social media, didn't tell any of my friends, didn't even mention it to my family. The Mercury Room put it on their website and social media. Sage Mitchell, Tuesday, 8 p.m., $15. And that was it. I figured maybe 20 people would show up. Die-hard Velvet Storm fans who were curious about what I was doing. Maybe a few music industry people keeping tabs on me. I prepared for the possibility that I'd be playing to an almost empty room, and I told myself that would be okay. This was about me getting back on stage, not about proving anything to anyone else. The afternoon of the show, I got a text from my little sister, Emma. "Good luck tonight, you've got this." I stared at the message for a long moment before realizing I'd never told Emma about the show. When I called her, she answered on the first ring. "How did you know about tonight?" "Sage." Emma's voice was gentle, like she was talking to a spooked animal. "Have you been online today?" "No, I've been practicing. Why?" "You need to check Instagram, like right now." I opened the app with trembling fingers, and the first thing I saw was a post from a Velvet Storm fan club, an account run by a 17-year-old named Jessica who'd been following the band since our first EP. The post was a screenshot of the Mercury Room's event listing with text that made my heart stop. Sage Mitchell is performing tonight at the Mercury Room. This is our chance to show her how much we miss her and support her solo career. If you're in the area, please go. Let's show the music industry that we choose Sage over Cameron any day. #Justice for Sage, #Sage Mitchell Solo. The post had been shared 800 times. 800. I scrolled through my notifications and found dozens of comments and messages. Can't wait to see you tonight. Finally, we've been waiting for this. Driving 3 hours to be there. You better not disappoint. This is going to be better than any Velvet Storm show. My phone rang. Patricia. Sage, what the hell did you do? Nothing. I didn't promote it at all. Well, someone did. The Mercury Room just called me. They're getting calls asking about tickets, and apparently there's already a line forming outside. At 3 in the afternoon, for a Tuesday night show that doesn't start for 5 hours. I felt like I was going to throw up. How many people? I don't know, but they're asking if you want to move to a bigger venue. I told them absolutely not. You're not ready for that kind of pressure. But Sage, if this goes well tonight. If this goes well tonight, what? Everything changes. I arrived at the Mercury Room at 6 p.m. for an 8 p.m. show, expecting to do a quick sound check and maybe run through my set one more time. Instead, I found a line wrapped around the building. 300 people. That's all the Mercury Room could hold, but there had to be twice that many in line. Young women mostly, some with homemade signs that said things like, Sage is back, and the real voice of Velvet Storm. A few had brought old Velvet Storm merchandise and were asking people to sign it. I sat in my car for 10 minutes, watching them through my windshield, wondering if I was having some kind of stress-induced hallucination. These people had shown up for me. Not for the band I used to be in, not for some nostalgic reunion show, but for me as a solo artist playing songs they'd never heard. The terror was overwhelming. What if the songs weren't good enough? What if my voice cracked? What if I forgot the words? Or the guitar tuning slipped? Or I just froze up there like a deer in headlights? But then, I saw a girl, maybe 16, at the front of the line. She was wearing a Velvet Storm t-shirt, but she'd crossed out the band name with a marker and written Sage in its place. When she saw me getting out of my car, her face lit up like I'd just handed her a winning lottery ticket. That's when I knew I had to do this. Not for my career, not to prove anything to my former bandmates or the record label, but for that girl and everyone else who'd shown up because they believed in me. I walked to the venue's back entrance, Luna's case heavy in my hand and my heart hammering against my ribs. The sound check went smoothly, which should have been reassuring, but somehow made me more nervous. When everything goes right during rehearsal, it usually means the universe is saving up all the disasters for the actual performance. Tommy, the Mercury Room's sound engineer, was a grizzled guy in his 50s who'd been working venues for decades. As I plugged in Luna and adjusted my mic stand, he leaned over his mixing board and gave me a thumbs up. Haven't seen energy like this for a Tuesday night show in, hell, maybe ever, he said. Whatever you're planning to do out there, they're ready for it. Through the curtains that separated the backstage area from the main room, I could hear the crowd getting larger and more excited. Conversations blended into a low roar, punctuated by bursts of laughter and the occasional chant of my name. At 7:45, Patricia appeared backstage with 2 bottles of water and a look of barely controlled panic. Okay, the good news is the show sold out in about 20 minutes once people started posting about it. The bad news is there are probably 200 people outside who couldn't get in, and some of them are getting pretty upset about it. What do you mean upset? Nothing dangerous, just disappointed. There's a kid out there with a sign that says, I drove from Ohio for this, and she's crying. Actually crying. The guilt hit me like a physical blow. Maybe we should... No. Patricia's voice was firm. We are not moving this to a bigger venue at the last minute. You're not ready for that kind of chaos, and neither am I. But Sage. Yeah? After tonight, everything's going to be different. Are you ready for that? I thought about the last 3 months. The depression, the self-doubt. The nights I'd laid awake wondering if I'd made the biggest mistake of my life by walking away from Velvet Storm. I thought about Cameron Walsh holding my guitar, singing songs to crowds that used to be mine. I'm ready. At 8 p.m. exactly, the lights dimmed and Tommy's voice came over the sound system. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sage Mitchell. I walked onto that stage, and the roar that greeted me was unlike anything I'd ever experienced. Not polite applause, not the enthusiastic but measured response of a typical crowd, but pure, unfiltered joy. 300 people on their feet, screaming like they'd been waiting their whole lives for this moment. I stood at the microphone for a long moment, looking out at faces illuminated by stage lights and phone screens. In the front row, I spotted the girl with the modified t-shirt. She was crying. Hi, I said, and the crowd roared again. I'm Sage, and wow, I wasn't expecting this. We missed you, someone shouted from the back. We love you, Sage. Play Neon Nights. I held up my hand, and the room gradually quieted. Thank you for being here, really. 3 months ago, I thought my music career was over. Tonight, you're helping me start a new one. These songs are different from anything I've done before. They're just me, no compromises, no committee decisions. They're the songs I needed to write to remember who I am. I adjusted Luna's strap and looked out at the crowd one more time. This first one is called Ghost in My Own Story. The opening chord rang out clear and strong, and I felt something click into place inside my chest. This was where I belonged. Not as a member of Velvet Storm, not as someone else's idea of who I should be, but as myself. Just me and my guitar and my voice and my truth. The first song went perfectly. My voice was strong, Luna's tone was gorgeous, and the crowd was with me from the very first line. When I reached the chorus, a ghost in my own story, but I'm not dead yet. 300 voices sang along, somehow knowing words they'd never heard before. The second song, 3 Months, was more intimate. I sat on a stool with just my acoustic guitar, and the room was so quiet I could hear individual voices singing harmony on the chorus. When I looked out into the audience, I saw people wiping away tears. By the third song, I'd found my rhythm. The stage felt like home again, and the conversations I was having with the crowd between songs felt natural and warm. I told them about writing Luna's lullaby at 4 a.m. when I couldn't sleep, about buying my new guitar and naming her after the moon because she'd helped me find my way out of the dark. The audience was hanging on every word, every note. They cheered when I hit the high notes, held their breath during the quiet moments, and sang along to every chorus even though they'd never heard these songs before tonight. Halfway through the set, I decided to take a risk. I want to play something I've never played for anyone before, I said. I wrote it about a week ago, and I'm still not sure it's finished, but sometimes you have to trust the moment. The song was called What They Don't Know, and it was my response to everything that had happened with Velvet Storm. Not angry or bitter, but honest about the pain of being replaced and the strength I'd found in stepping away. They think they know my story, but they only saw the stage. They never saw me writing, till my fingers bled and my voice gave way, and they never saw the midnight hours, the dreams I built from nothing. They just saw a girl they could replace. But I'm still here, still becoming. When I finished, the silence lasted for about 3 seconds before the room exploded. People were on their feet, screaming, crying, chanting my name. Someone in the front row was holding up a sign that said, "What they don't know is we love you." I had to step away from the microphone for a moment to compose myself. This was it. This was the moment I'd been working toward without even knowing it. Not just getting back on stage, but finding my voice in a way I never had before. I played 3 more songs, including a cover of Landslide that had the entire room singing along, before reaching what I'd planned as the end of my set. But as I looked out at the crowd, I knew I couldn't leave them yet. I want to play one more song, I said. This one is for everyone who showed up tonight, and for everyone who couldn't get in, but is probably watching on someone's Instagram Live right now. I'd noticed the phones throughout the show, dozens of them broadcasting the performance to social media. Normally, that would have made me nervous, but tonight it felt right. This wasn't just a comeback show, it was a statement. The final song was Begin Again, an anthem about resilience and rebirth that I'd written the week before. I'm not the girl I was before, but I'm not sorry for the change. Every ending is a doorway. Every scar is a story worth the pain. So here I stand, ready to begin again. When I hit the final chord, the room erupted one last time. The standing ovation lasted for 5 minutes, and when I finally walked off stage, I felt like I was floating. Patricia found me backstage, her phone pressed to her ear and her eyes wide with something between excitement and terror. Sage, I need you to sit down. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. Everything's right. Too right. She hung up her phone and looked at me directly. That was Rolling Stone on the phone. Rolling Stone. They want to do a feature about tonight's show. I sat down heavily on a folding chair. How do they even know about it? Social media. Apparently, videos from tonight's show are trending on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. There are already compilation videos of your performance on YouTube. And that's not all. She showed me her phone. Twitter was full of clips from the show, hashtags like #SageMitchellSolo and #RealMusicIsBack trending worldwide. But the tweet that made my heart stop was from an account I recognized at Velvet Storm Official. Congratulations to our former bandmate at Sage Mitchell on an incredible solo debut. We're proud to have been part of your journey. They posted that 20 minutes ago, Patricia said. It has 15,000 retweets already. But Sage, look at the replies. I scrolled down, and every single reply was some variation of the same message. Bring her back. She is Velvet Storm. Fire Cameron and apologize to Sage. We want refunds until Sage returns. This is what real music sounds like. Patricia, I said slowly, what happens now? Before she could answer, there was a knock on the dressing room door. Tommy poked his head in, grinning from ear to ear. Sage, there are some people here who want to talk to you. Media? Your old bandmates. My blood turned to ice. What? Marcus and Riley are here. They came to the show. I looked at Patricia, who shrugged. Your call. I took a deep breath. 3 months ago, these guys had been my best friends and creative partners. 3 months ago, they'd looked me in the eye and told me I was being replaced. I had no idea which version of them was waiting outside that door. Send them in. Marcus entered first, still wearing that ridiculous black beanie, his eyes uncertain. Riley followed, looking more serious than I'd ever seen him. They both looked like they'd aged years in the 3 months since I'd seen them. Sage, Marcus said quietly. That was incredible. Riley nodded. We watched from the back. We didn't want to distract from your night, but we had to come. The silence stretched between us, heavy with 3 months of hurt and anger, and things that had been left unsaid. Why? I asked finally. Because we fucked up, Riley said simply. Because we let the label convince us that success meant more than friendship. Because we've spent the last 3 months playing your songs with someone who sounds like a cheap imitation of you, and every night on stage feels like we're desecrating something sacred. Marcus pulled off his beanie and ran his hands through his hair. The fans hate us, Sage. Not just disappointed, they hate us. Cameron's a good guy and he's trying his best, but he's not you. Nobody could be you. We shouldn't have asked anyone to try. The tour's been a disaster, Riley continued. Half the venues have had people demanding refunds. We had a show last week where people held up signs saying, "Where's Sage?" for the entire set. Cameron handled it well, but I could see it was killing him. So what do you want from me? I asked. And I told you so? Because I don't have one. I'm not angry anymore. I'm just done. We want you to come back, Marcus said. We want to make this right. I looked at these two guys who'd been my closest friends, my creative partners, my musical family. 3 months ago, I would have said yes without hesitation. But 3 months ago, I hadn't discovered what it felt like to be completely, authentically myself on stage. I can't, I said quietly. Not because I'm angry, but because I've found something I didn't know I was looking for. Tonight, up there, that was me. Not me trying to fit into what Velvet Storm needed. Not me compromising my vision for the sake of the group dynamic. Just me. Riley's face fell. So that's it? 4 years of friendship and music, and we just end it like this? No, I said, surprising myself. We end it like friends who made different choices and found different paths. You guys will figure out how to make Velvet Storm work with Cameron, or you'll start something new. And I'll keep doing this. Marcus nodded slowly. You're going to be huge, you know that. Bigger than we ever were. Maybe. Or maybe I'll play rooms like this for the rest of my career and be perfectly happy doing it. We hugged goodbye, and it felt like closure. Not the angry, dramatic ending I'd imagined, but something quieter and more mature. We were different people than we'd been 4 years ago when we'd started the band, and it was okay that we wanted different things now. After they left, Patricia and I sat in comfortable silence for a while, processing everything that had happened. So, she said finally, what do you want to do next? I thought about the crowd tonight, about the videos spreading across social media, about the Rolling Stone interview request. I thought about the songs I still had to write, the venues I wanted to play, the artistic freedom I'd found in stepping away from everything safe and familiar. I want to book more shows, I said. Bigger venues, but not too big. I want to record these songs properly. I want to do this right. Patricia smiled. Consider it done. 6 months later, I was standing in the wings of the Beacon Theater in New York City, watching 2,800 people file into seats that had sold out in less than 10 minutes. My debut solo album, Ghost Stories, had debuted at number 3 on the Billboard 200. Rolling Stone had called me the most authentic voice in alternative rock. And most importantly, I was doing it all on my own terms. The tour had been everything I'd dreamed of, and more. Intimate venues where I could connect with every person in the room, audiences that sang along to every word, reviews that praised both my songwriting and my guitar work. I'd found my voice as a solo artist in a way I never could have as part of a group. Velvet Storm had quietly disbanded 2 months after my Mercury Room show. The official statement cited creative differences, but the real reason was that Cameron had finally gotten tired of being compared to me every night. He'd gone back to Nashville to pursue country music, and honestly, I thought he'd probably be happier there. Marcus and Riley had started a new project called Static Dreams, more experimental and electronic than Velvet Storm had ever been. I'd heard their first single on the radio the week before, and it was actually pretty good. Different, but good. As for me, I was about to walk onto the stage of one of New York's most iconic venues, carrying Luna and a set list full of songs that were entirely, unapologetically mine. The stage manager held up 5 fingers, then 4, then 3, then 2, then 1. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Sage Mitchell. I walked into the lights and the roar of 2,800 voices, and I was home. The opening song was Ghost in My Own Story, the same song I'd opened with at the Mercury Room 6 months earlier. But tonight, when I reached the final chorus, a ghost in my own story, but I'm not dead yet, I changed the last line. A ghost in my own story, but I'm not dead yet. I'm alive, I'm alive. I'm more alive than I've ever been. Because that's what this journey had taught me. Sometimes you have to lose everything you think you want to find out who you really are. Sometimes the best thing that can happen to you is being forced to start over. Sometimes being replaced is really being set free. As I played that first song to a sold-out theater full of people who'd chosen to be there specifically to see me, I thought about that girl I'd been 3 months ago, heartbroken, lost, convinced that her music career was over. If I could go back and tell her one thing, it would be this. The story isn't over. It's just beginning. And sometimes the best chapters are the ones you write entirely for yourself.